pre-warn you, the dog may start barking. You've probably not seen him for a while. He's in the back there. I'll be surprised if he doesn't poke his head up at some point within the next 5 minutes. We're in a car park at the moment, and any time people are just doing their own thing, parking their cars, walking around, walking in the park, walking in the woods. He don't like it. They get a big old woof. So there you go. You might hear it in just a second. Want to talk about Lucas Paquetá today and the fact that he's going to leave West Ham unless he gets a ban, a lengthy sort of one of those lifetime bans that they've been talking about. Unless he gets one of those, which I think a lot of the people, Paqueta, his team, are increasingly confident that's not going to happen. So if he gets acquitted or if he gets like a very, very short ban, he's off. He won't stay at West Ham. It's not going to be a sort of happy ending. He's had enough. You could sort of understand it, really, and he sort of wants a clean break. And it does appear that there is... it gets some good offers. The only problem with Paqueta is not his ability. He's 27 years of age, so he's not at the end of his career or anything like it. The only problem is that there might be an FA ban hanging over him. That's what scuppered his deal to Manchester City. Before I get into that, even though I've just discussed it for 30 seconds, I've got to deal with some of the Soufal stuff. I did a video with Gio yesterday about Soufal, and I've had a couple of people who have sort of suggested sort of hatred for Soufal on my part, and it's once again we get back to this language and this binary language where you either you absolutely love something or you hate it. Now, the truth of the matter is, I love Soufal. I think he's been a brilliant servant. I think he's, in terms of players that come to West Ham, he gets it, right? And I've often said about these players, could be Ginger Pele, could be Pablo Fornals, Alvin Martin. Sometimes players just come to West Ham. They're not from West Ham, but they buy into it and they just get it. The two Czech lads are absolutely that. I've got no problems with Soufal. I even think Soufal should have been paid over time more than £35,000 a week. I think by Premier League terms, that's not a lot of money. My point sort of was on the whole Soufal thing, which was he seems to want three things. Listening to what he said in his interview in Czech, and I do understand some of it, well, some of it's been translated, all of it's been translated, but all we can go on, I can't speak Czech, so all I can go on is the translation and what's been reported. He seems to want, by the fact that he said, well, last season I got 7 assists, and basically indicated last season he was the second best right back in the Premier League. Him saying that, he also indicated he was frustrated with Potter, that he just sort of made it up with Lopetegui. He's frustrated that he's not in the first team. Gripe number one. Gripe number two is that, well, that West Ham have not communicated with him, which I think is awful. I think that's bad. I think he deserves a lot better than that. But he seems to be unsure about his future. He shouldn't be. They're going to let him go. That much is obvious. So yeah, gripe number three appears to be money. He thinks he should be earning more money. I agree. He was offered more money from Fulham on transfer deadline day, and we didn't let him move. So he thinks he wants. Well, in his own terms, he was denied the sort of money that could secure the future of 4 generations of Soufals. I think because I didn't particularly like that comment, and it doesn't mean I don't like him or have any hatred towards him. Far from it. I absolutely understand anyone trying to secure what's best for their family. I just didn't think it was West Ham's duty to secure the next 4 generations of his family. He was pretty much saying he could have done that at Fulham. So I understand why he was disappointed that he wanted to leave. I also do understand why it was Graham Potter apparently that rejected it. I understand why he would. At the time Todibo was injured, Mavropanos was flitting between sort of suspension and just terrible calamitous form, and Soufal was the player that could play at right centre-back. It was deadline day. We had no time to get a replacement. I totally understand it. His final gripe seems to be that he wants to stay in London. He said his daughter has just joined in a new school. I'd be the same. I'd want to keep my daughter in the school. He said that his son is playing at the academy at West Ham. I totally get it. So I think reading between the lines, he wants first team football, he wants more money, he wants to know about his future, and he wants to look after his family. I totally get it. I just don't think you're getting all 4 things at West Ham, and that's really it. It's really as simple as that. I think he could get a new contract at West Ham, quite possibly. but he wouldn't get the other stuff. He wouldn't get the regular first-team football. He shouldn't be starting ahead of Wan-Bissaka, and he shouldn't be starting ahead of Todibo. And those are the two positions where he's likely to play. If it looks like we should get, hopefully, Kyle Walker-Peters, then I totally understand why we do that. You know, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, Kyle Walker-Peters and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are two better options than what was our season, which was Ben Johnson and, of course, Vladimir Soufal. West Ham have got to do what's best for West Ham. That doesn't mean I hate him. That doesn't mean I want him out. It just means that I think if he's going to sign it, he would be a second-string player. That's what he's going to have to be. I do appreciate everything he's done, and I do think he's been underpaid at West Ham over the course of his contract, but that is not Graham Potter's problem, right? That's all I've got to say about that, basically. There's certainly no hatred on my part. Far from it, just trying to look at it as sort of clearly as I can. We might get a woof in a minute because someone's walking past with two dogs. I don't think he's noticed. He's not noticed. He's not noticed at all. The people walking past think I'm talking to myself in a van. Well, I sort of. No, I'm not. I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to myself in a van. Right, Lucas Paquetá. There's a lot of rumours going around at the moment. Players we are interested in. Some of them are very, very young, like Chris Rigg. We were offered him. We've been offered that player, almost like first refusal on it. Really good player, very, very skillful. Excellent. Looks to be a really, really good player. I do wonder if Graham Potter is going to, and a lot of the others are very young as well. I do wonder if Graham Potter is going to replace Lucas Paquetá with a youngster. It looks like it's certainly not going to be Carlos Soler, who's priced himself out of any move with £225,000 a week. Pay demands, that's what he's earning at Paris Saint-Germain, by the way. But, you know, the news that Paquetá is still attractive to other clubs, I totally get it. Why wouldn't he be? The suggestion is that actually Manchester City would still take him on. Okay, I mean, that was a bit of a surprise, but I think anybody that watches Man City play without Kevin De Bruyne, they're a lesser team, and like he's coming to the end of his career. He's certainly not getting any better. He's constantly injured. That player that can play a ridiculous pass, can see a pass and do the extravagant. Well, Paquetá is that. I think the thing is, would we get the 80 million that we were going to get for him? And he was on his way. He was on his way to leave. He was probably going to leave a week later before the FA basically issued their charges against him for the yellow cards, the betting irregularities, whatever you want to call it. We won't get the 80-odd million for him. I don't know how much we'll get. I think if somebody came with 30 million for Paquetá, we'd probably have to take it. We probably would. But I do understand that this, just in the same way I've got no ill feeling towards Soufal at all for doing his interview and wanting out. I totally understand it. I just don't think West Ham can meet all these four major criteria. I totally understand that Paquetá might think, I've just had enough. This has been a really bad... just... a really bad period in his career. And I'm sure he'll remember West Ham for good reasons. I'm sure he'll remember West Ham for, well, particularly got the assist, obviously the winning goal in the Conference League. He came to West Ham to improve his standing in Europe. I think he did that. He came to West Ham to play in European football because we'd been in the Europa League the year before. I mean, and he's come to West Ham and he's won a trophy. I think it's been a successful transfer, but I wouldn't blame him if he's been utterly depressed within the last 18 months with his hearing hanging over him, and he probably just thinks, I want a fresh start, I want a fresh challenge. Don't blame him at all. Totally understand it. I hope all things are done, really. I don't want to keep a player sometimes he looks tired, he looks weary. Potter has got the best out of him on occasion, particularly when Potter first come in. Maybe not so much in recent games, but I've got no ill feeling there. I really don't. I think he's a good player, excellent player. He wants a fresh challenge. I think as a fan, I'm sort of ready for a fresh creative player to come in it. We certainly need it. The team need it, and more than just him. I think we need another creative player, and I think we need an athlete, and that's just in midfield, by the way. I guess there are some players that can do all of that, but I think they cost a lot of money. I think you're probably going to have to get two players to do that all that athletic running and give us all that pace and that bite and athleticism, and I think probably a different player to give the real creative spark. So yeah, no hard feelings towards Paquetá. Totally understand it, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that other clubs would be interested. it's a real. In fact, I'm not going to make the example. I'll let you guys read between the lines. It's not a fair example to make. But there are players who have gone through far worse than Lucas Paquetá. They've done far worse things, right? And by the way, Lucas Paquetá is highly likely, looking at it now by most recent evidence, or there's lack of evidence, that he is innocent. People have done far worse things than Lucas Paquetá, and they end up getting transfers and other clubs want to buy them. So it's only the threat of a club paying a transfer fee and then losing all their money that's stopping his transfer. The moment he's acquitted or whatever the technical term in a hearing, it's not a judicial case, is it? So it's not a legal case in that sense. It is literally a football governing bodies, like a law, not a lawn bowls club, but it is a bit like that. It's a lawn bowls club deciding whether a certain member who might have been using tricky balls can play again. That's really what we're doing. The moment he's allowed to play football and he's given the go ahead, then I was going to say all bets are off. That's not the best thing to say. Anyway, I think somebody else comes in for him. Right, let me see if we can see the dog. I might make myself look silly. Zippy, come here. He's big. He's very large. I don't know if you can see him. Come here. I don't know if you can see him there. There he is. There he is. Zippy. Hello, mate. Big boy now.